Hey guys, I wanted to spend a moment and talk with you about how we can increase fruitfulness in our small groups, in our connect groups. And statistics show that the amount of people who come to a gathering or show up for a small group gathering and are actively involved in the activities of that gathering during the week is directly proportionate to the amount of communication they receive from the leaders of that group. Um, and so we have these awesome things called texting, called emails, called phone messages. Just picking up the phone and calling somebody that we have as powerful tools that help us to capitalize on being more fruitful in our ministry. Um, if we're talking about somebody who's a regular attender, or maybe it's somebody who's been pretty busy and hasn't shown up in a few weeks, they're more likely to come to your next meeting if they receive even the smallest message from somebody in their group saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I'd love to see you next week. I hope to see you there." Um, as far as talking about engagement or being actively involved in the weekly activities, we've been talking about inserting this idea of application into our small group meetings. We talked about this thing called next step challenges. So let's say you've been talking about a great discussion that you've had over whatever it is that you've been studying during your gathering time, and then you as a group talk about, okay, how do we apply this to our lives? What's the great thing that we can do to actually live this out? And you create a next step challenge. Let's say, for example, that next step challenge is you decided as a group to memorize a particular passage of scripture, and then you're going to be intentionally looking for people who you can share that passage of scripture with to minister to them, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or whatnot. So, as a leader, one awesome thing that you can do is maybe just send out a text message to the people in your group saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm praying over you as you are memorizing scripture, as you are getting ready to go share this with other people. I'm praying over those conversations. I pray that God would use those to really impact and encourage other people and see life change through those things." That's good because number one, it reminds people during the week that, oh yeah, that's right, we made a challenge to do this. If they've forgotten, then they'll be reminded to do it and get on top of it. And it also serves as a way to encourage them. Number one, they know that, man, he's praying for me. She's praying for me. They're lifting me up. They really care. Also, number two, there's other people doing it. I really want to be able to share an awesome experience that I have. Now, speaking of awesome experiences, use that time to share whatever God may be doing in your life, however He's working in you. Maybe you shared with somebody and God used that sharing with that one short scripture to really minister to somebody. And there's a cool God story. Share that with your group and facilitate and encourage them feeling open and excited to share even during the week before they meet again next week about what God's doing in and through them in their lives. It helps remind them, it helps encourage them, and it sets this expectation. God is going to do something, and we're going to see Him move, and we're going to talk about the awesome things that He's doing while we're at it. I also would encourage that if you're able to, and I would say you should be looking to be able to, send individualized messages instead of just a blanket text to everybody. Now, blanket texts are better than anything or than doing nothing. Sending an email out to everybody is better than not sending an email at all. But there's such um, an increase in how it can reach somebody and affect them and encourage them when it says, "Hey Nate, I just want to let you know I'm praying for you," instead of, "Hey guys, letting y'all know that I'm praying for you," or whatnot. And if especially if you're able to put like specific things in their lives, like, "Hey Nate, I know you lifted up John. You talked about how he's struggling with something. I'm praying for you as you're memorizing scripture that maybe you'd be able to speak with John and share that scripture, and that God would use that." Just as an example, just those individualized messages really go a long way. Now, as we're talking about individualized messages, one of the first things you might be thinking of is, well, that's going to take up a lot of time. I don't know if I have the amount of time to go and send every single person in my group a message or call them on the phone. Let's say you have 12 people in your group. You're right, that would take a long time for you to sit down and even write an email or a text message or call them every person of a group of 12. However, this is a good reason why we talk about um, identifying leaders in your group and creating leadership opportunities. It could be as small of a leadership opportunity as, I have a group of 12 people and I have 3 leaders, and I'm going to do what I just talked about. I'm going to send those 3 leaders personalized messages saying, I'm praying for you guys in this. But also, each of those 3 leaders have 3 people in their group that they are going to turn around and do the exact same thing too. So not only does this help you save time, and it's not as taxing to reach and encourage every person in your group, but also it creates leadership opportunities and leadership roles that we want to be facilitating anyways within our group. It gives people a sense of responsibility, a sense of ownership, and practice in leading in their own, especially if we want to see them grow into a leadership role of taking on a whole group by themselves later down the road. So please consider how you can be more intentional about communicating, whether it's via text, whether it's through an email, whether it's through calling people, and setting up a leadership process where more people can be involved in doing that. I guarantee you that you will see an increase in fruitfulness in your small group time and your gathering and just the things that God does in and through your group.